meeting tonight, just so everybody knows? Smile for the camera. See, that was, I didn't come up with that high tech solution. I was trying to fuddle with this, thermostat, and
Because I wouldn't spend the money myself.
The trouble is, sometimes I can't reach those windows when they design these. See what I'm saying?
Oh, if they haven't locked, yeah.
It could be, it could be. Sometimes that happens. But I can open this. Look at that. But it's pretty warm out there too. Yay! Summer's here.
You weren't on that one for some reason. It was weird. I looked, I'm like, how come? I counted, I'm like, wait, I never said I went to that one. So you're not on that, I'm sorry. I should have forwarded that to you. Oh, I noticed it really, then I was like, oh, maybe you got it through somebody else.
Right there.
I apologize.
I know.
See it.
Well, it's because.
Good to be seen.
They sent it to Joe, myself, Joanne, Richard Lynch, Catherine Smith, and then Holly Sullivan, Dan Stone, Jason Bucksbaum got it for some reason, but
I don't know. I didn't
Jeff
distribute,
Manville.
that came from, I think, the office.
Yeah. Tom wasn't on that either, I just realized, yeah, so this is the first I'm saying.
Again, I didn't distribute it, it came, it will talk about
Morning,
it.
I mean, hi, morning.
All of us.
Holy mackerel. Boys,
Okay, I'm gonna get this thing started. You all set, John?
Yes.
Looks like John Riley.
Well, everybody, welcome. Are we missing 1, 2, 3, 6, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, Jason's not here yet, and Mr. Lynch is not here yet. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm going to start the public hearing for the draft submission of the charter revision work that this commission has done. I think we can do the pledge, I think. Yeah, let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the way that we're going to handle this tonight was everybody can make 3 minutes of comments if you have comments to make. I also have some electronic submissions for folks who could not attend the meeting, which we will. So what we're going to do is have the public hearing. The folks in the room can make their comments, and then we're going to have immediately following that a regular meeting of the Charter Revision Commission and undertake and consider the comments from this room and electronic submissions. So that's what we're going to do. So I guess I can open the floor to whoever wants to speak for 3 minutes. If you haven't done this before, you use the microphone, and when it's red, we can't hear you. Neither can the public. This is being streamed. When you come up, just push the button and speak into the microphone, and then when you're done, turn it back to off, if you don't mind. Okay? And I guess that's it. We'll get started. So, thanks for coming. There you go. All right.
Somebody has to be
Senior
first, and
title, so
everybody's
you go
afraid
first.
to do it. Thank you. A couple things. You saw the recommendation we're making about LEPC and whatnot. We should take. I would urge you to take that up. It puts everything under one umbrella. It gives it's a safety committee of every discipline of emergency services that is in the town. They're together continuity because they all interact with one another. The other thing I'd like to address is in the charter, I forget what section it is, there's a requirement of a majority of a vote of the Board of Selectmen to terminate an employee of 5 votes. It becomes very cumbersome. It can become very political. It has become political in the past. We're the only municipality that requires 5 out of the 6 votes in order to terminate an employee. I would recommend that you look at what that looks like, what other municipalities do, and one of the solutions may be, when this original the charter we're under now was written, there was no HR function. It was handled out of the first selectman's office. That can be a conflict of interest. It's really not was the way. We have a fully functioning HR operation going. My recommendation is to consider that with the recommendation of the head of HR in conjunction with the recommendation of the direct supervisor or the director of that department, that it be a simple majority of the Board of Selectmen for termination for an employee. It makes it very difficult to even make it. I've been doing this for 10 years. You really have to consider whether you have the votes, because once you bring it to the Board of Selectmen, if you do not have the votes, that employee is pretty much protected. Should you decide to discipline them some more, they're going to call it retaliatory. It's been a problem. So I'd urge you to take a look at that. Look at other municipalities. We're the only municipality that has that restrictive or difficult guidelines. I've been living with it for 10 years, but it is make it difficult. Again, if you have good employees, it's not a problem. But now we have the fully functioning HR in here, and I think that's an important aspect of managing the town. That, and you saw our recommendation on the safety committee and consolidating that into one. I think that would create continuity amongst all the departments in one place for that.
Thank you very much.
That's pretty much it.
Great. Took notes. We're running on. We're on the
Am I
record.
within my 3 minutes?
You're-
You want me to stand here for another?
You were close. No. I know you're strict about it.
But that, yeah, there's no long-winded, it's just
It's fine. No, we
you
don't. I
take a
think we
look at it and
understand
take a
that-
look and see what other, like I said, other municipalities, no one else seems to have that kind of restriction on
Okay.
5 votes.
Very
All
good.
right?
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Oh.
Appreciate it. I'm going to stay a little bit. I have dinner at my daughter's.
Oh, I knew he was, but.
That's okay. I'll, absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to say, I think everybody knows where he lives, but that's another story in and of itself. I'm Rob Pavlock. I live on Scotticook Lane, and I'm here, and I'm going to kind of tag on to some of what Jeff was talking about with the consolidation of committees and that, and concerns that at least I have, if not the public as a whole should have. While it's important and critical that all the services talk to each other and interact with each other, one of the things that I see is lacking in the request that's being made to you by that group is the exclusion of the general population and the citizenship to take part. As you all know, a town charter is more than just the document, right? It's the foundation of our government, it's our function, it's how the rules and that are set. Really, the process matters. The people's voice matters. Citizen involvement isn't optional. It's essential in government and effective running of a town. If anything, with all of our committees, be it the public service committees, public safety committees, those involving police, fire, EMS, emergency management, public works that Jeff was mentioning, or other committees across the town, we should be encouraging and strengthening the public and city civic leadership, as opposed to relying strictly on the department leaders or those that have a vested interest in their internal decision-making to do what is right for the town. I would encourage that all of you make sure that as you're taking revisions, whether it's to that committee, other committees, or other town functions during the charter revision, that we preserve the safeguards for transparency, public input, and true and real accountability for what is happening in the town of Southbury. And if that means that we have to expand the roles or change the roles of residents for proper involvement, that's something that should be considered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your input, and we got that on the record, so good. Just continue. Fred, if you want to go ahead, please.
Fred Sell, 108 Nod Hill Road. Probably tired of seeing me at your meetings here. But good evening. Thank you for considering the recent input I have submitted to the Commission on revisions to Section 702D of the Charter regarding the Board of Finance's duties on the budget that are needed to eliminate the recurrence of the problem that surfaced this year in the town's budget review. Several of your members expressed willingness to revisit this matter after this hearing when you have the time to do so. The straightforward changes and the reason for the needed revisions were summarized in a letter to Voice's editor that was published last Wednesday. A copy of this letter is attached to this statement and submitted for the public record of this hearing. The letter states that the Board of Finance performs a vital role as the town's fiscal stewards. However, they should have a charter-stated obligation to provide tax-paying residents and the Board of Selectmen with advance notice of proposed budget cuts and the opportunity for those parties to provide constructive feedback in a public hearing before the Board of Finance finalizes the budget for the required voter referendum. At your meeting, May 21, it was suggested that the proposed new Section 709 Finance Ordinance alternative offers a pathway to future solutions to any current 70D budget process flaws. However, as currently written, this places the initiative for such change with the Board of Selectmen without consent of the Board of Finance. This approach risks undermining the implicit checks and balances of our current town government structure and the Board of Finance's critical fiscal stewardship role. Please consider rewriting 709 to place responsibility for recommending financial-oriented ordinance changes with the Board of Finance and require Board of Finance consent on any such ordinances changes before the Board of Selectmen acts on them. The current version of 709 creates a fox, i.e. Board of Selectmen, guarding the henhouse problem for taxpayers. More importantly, to protect the public interest, the Board of Finance's important town budget duties should be clearly prescribed in Section 702D and approved by the voters of the town in the charter referendum. The ordinance process requires only majority Board of Selectmen approval unless a laborious petition process is launched for a public vote. Charter inclusion preserves the basic principle of our democratic governance that requires public ratification of the basic duties of our government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Fred.
And just quickly, I want to acknowledge your hard work on this challenging task and your
appreciated. Thank you.
demonstrated commitment to better governance for the town of Southbury.
Much appreciated, thank you. Thanks, yeah, okay, very good, appreciate it. Did you want to make a comment too? You can just step up to the mic.
Just give me a minute.
Oh, okay,
Gather my thoughts.
okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there, yeah. Oh, please, go ahead. Okay. I can try to, well, we didn't want to have much of an exchange, but I think I can explain what we had in mind for 709 if that helps.
All
I
right,
don't know.
thank you.
Okay.
My name is Janet Brzezinski, and I live at 45 Britiani Road. And I do thank you all for the time that this takes. I know you've had a number of meetings, and it is time-consuming, but I appreciate it. And I wasn't quite understanding the addition of 709 because it seemed to give like a really broad ability to make changes, but not with much like back and forth or oversight or just, so I was trying to understand it.
I can try to, what I'll do is I'll try to explain maybe a couple of things that people had touched on before we launch into our meeting. I think we talked about having at least that much of a response, but I'll do it in one shot. So if I will address our intent behind 709 in just a
Okay.
few minutes. I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak first.
Okay.
And are you okay?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, good, okay.
Timothy Baldwin, resident town Southbury, 67 Gatepost Lane. I just became aware of this proposal within the last 24 hours. I do sit as a member of the current EMS committee, and I was fortunate enough to sit on the previous version of an EMS committee. The previous version of EMS committee was really intended to be a collaboration committee, and it did do that for a long time. And then things kind of evolved, and then there was some concern about where the committee was going, in that there was a little bit more structure other than collaboration. And within town government, the thought was that there needed to be the removal of the department heads as being the key players on that committee, the former committee. From what little bit I've seen on the structure for this new proposal, it brings us back to where the EMS committee used to be, but it's being evolved into a public safety committee. So I kind of question, are we going backwards by doing this? Because the communications I've seen talks about that as a collaboration to allow the emergency services to collaborate. Not for nothing, but there's a lot of talk of downsizing government, so on and so forth. Collaboration really, and with EMS, we did it a few times. When Chips was here, the 3 EMS service chiefs, we went to Chips one morning, we sat down, we had breakfast, and we kind of kicked around what was good, what was bad, and what we should and what we shouldn't be doing. Is that not what collaboration should be? So I think there's some thought with that as well. The responsibilities of the EMS committee current day is tied heavily with the state-required EMS plan. And I would encourage you to not necessarily look at the EMS plan as it is written, but rather go on the Connecticut Department of Public Health's website under EMS planning. It was 2013 or 2014 when the statute changed, and it put into place metrics that should be held for a community with EMS. And I'm sure my colleague Rob went into this some. Sorry that I was late walking in. And I was heavily involved in the writing of the EMS plan, meeting the new requirements. And that's the responsibilities of the EMS plan is not one of collaboration, but rather is review of what the current model is, system improvements, quality improvement, so on and so forth, which collaboration can encompass all that, but it's more than that as we look at operations of an EMS committee and the EMS plan. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. I have a lot of concerns with pulling the rug out from underneath the EMS committee, because it's been it's a lot of tedious work, and it's been a very slow process, which I'm sure that information comes out, that it's very slow. I mean, it's very slow for us to accomplish anything. Ann has seen it a little bit already. But and it's tough for members. I know that there's information out there that we're done? Oh,
I
Wrap
just
it
wanted
up.
to wrap it up, yeah.
Wrap it up.
So I'm being
So-
generous with the time.
yeah,
so.
okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
So I would encourage you to take a look at the information that I shared with you, and kind of take a look at that.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm just going to, before we get into the meeting, we talked about a structure for this, and I thought I would just at least address the concerns that the folks in the room had with some of the sections, and then we're going to launch into our meeting where there's no more public comment for tonight anyway. That doesn't mean we're not going to have another meeting. I didn't put in the agenda, so we allowed, no, because we did the public hearing, figuring that's the feedback, and then we didn't need to do it twice. You think, well, we can modify the agenda, add more back in if you want. I left it out, but that was my thinking. In any case, so some of the comments made tonight, I did hear from our first selectman before about the notion of 5 votes versus 4 votes for dismissing an employee And I'm glad he spoke with us tonight about it, so we can put that on the consideration list. It's new to us. We didn't talk about it before, so that's a new one. So we'll have to discuss that issue. The second one, the LEPC and possible consideration of how that plays with EMS, that's new to us. This only came about in the last couple of days as an electronic submission to us. So what we had done previously, for those who are aware, is we were simply codifying the EMS committee as it existed and putting that in the charter, which is probably what you saw in the draft. And we didn't touch the LEPC. That remained as its own entity. But this request is a new change, which is a public safety commission. So that's new to us as well. So we have to take that up as a comment. Fred's comments, well known to us. We even went so far as to compose charter language for this consideration of the Board of Finance and the sequence of events that happens in the charter as regards budget process. And we decided at the last meeting not to take it up just yet. I think we wanted to get input from the public and also possibly from the Board of Selectmen. But that has not been, I'll say, dismissed. It just wasn't taken up as part of the first cut of the draft. The other comments for 709, sorry. Yeah, the section about, that was my construct. So what that was is there's been a lot of critique about how much detail there is in the charter as regards the budget process, specifically sections 702, 703, and 704. And if you look at other town charters, they never seem to burden their charter with all this detail about the budget process. They typically have it done outside of the charter itself. And so the idea was to allow for a mechanism by which the 702, 703, and 704 could be modified with people who know how to modify it, and if the public allowed them to modify it later, thereby nullifying 702, 703, and 704. The comment that was made about allowing for, we did haggle over one word in that section, 709, consent versus consider. And so I understand from the comment tonight that consent maybe is an idea as opposed to consider. So that would change it would, by allowing the word consent in there, it would allow both the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen to, working together, change those sections. And then, so I hope that clarified that the reason for that ordinance idea was a way to allow for the change to occur in between 5-year periods of charter revision and to allow for a streamlined budget process, which has been in that charter for a really long time. And it sometimes causes a lot of consternation here at Town Hall. And so we couldn't get to the bottom of how to streamline that whole process, but we came up with a mechanism that if the public voted to allow it to be taken up sooner, it could be. That was the notion behind.
It just seemed very broad.
It is broad, but it only covers 3 sections of the charter that have to do with budget process.
So that was the 702, 3, and 4.
That's correct, yeah. And then finally, Mr. Baldwin's comments. Again, this is new to us. And it's a fairly late change. I think that if we do undertake this, we'll have to do some research and do some due diligence. What we had done is we codified how the EMS committee had been formulated and put that in the charter. That's all we did. Because we thought it seems to be working. It's a functioning group. It had its own ordinance to create it. We just sort of codified it. But now the changes that are being asked for are what I would characterize as more substantial and comprehensive, and we'll have to discuss that. So I hope that at least gives you a window into what we're thinking here. We also, as part of this whole charter process, we still will be getting feedback from the Board of Selectmen as well. Because we essentially submitted a draft charter to them, but they get to kick it back with if they have any things that they'd like us to consider specifically. So I hope that helps to understand the process. what we're going to do tonight is just discuss some of these issues that have been presented and some email that has come in support of certain things, and just electronic versions of people's submissions. So that's kind of where we're at. And I think we'll probably, it's a little early, but I allowed it in the agenda so that we could commence with our meeting with this. If we want to add public comment, that's fine. I don't know if we need to.
May I make a comment?
Okay,
Ken, would everyone mind?
please.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna make you sit for a minute. I just wanted to let my EMS compadres here understand that when this came out, I had no knowledge of it, and I thought maybe they would have came to you and had a conversation. So I was as shocked as you are, but I think if we work through this and try to, if this is new, like Joe said, we'll have to work through it and try to see how this will benefit everything. So that's just my comment. I just wanted you to know that I wasn't working on the sidelines trying to get this jammed in the charter.
This was submitted 2 days ago via our online submission system. That's how new it is to us, just so you know. No.
It almost, again, I wasn't aware of this until recently, but it almost sounds like there's two separate things that are going on. One, a public safety committee, which is talking about exercises and planning, incident preparedness. And then there's also the other part that you alluded to, which would include the public, and then also the metrics. And so maybe as we're discussing things, we can kind of keep that in mind and have maybe a way to address both within the organization. So just wanted to throw that out there.
We're going to talk about it, trust me. And if it may require research, it may require more consideration. We have more meetings possible to consider this, but it wasn't in the original draft for that reason. And that's where,
Received it, what, Monday?
yeah, 2 days ago, Monday, yeah. Right, it was late in the day, so it is very, very new to us. So, yeah. And so we appreciate it, and trust me when I say that we've been very careful and very considerate of every topic, and if you go through our minutes, I think it's reflected in there. We've been very careful about every step in the process, and we didn't always achieve consensus too. There were some very big subjects that that I thought may have come up tonight, but apparently haven't, that we could not get to. We tried. And we took early votes, we took later votes, we reconsidered. We did middle votes. I was a pest about it. They'll attest to that. But we beat that one to death. I'm referring to town manager, town administrator. So in any case, we're going to go along, but I think our focus now will be more narrow, which will be any new items that are considered. And the work that we've already done will continue on and see what the Board of Selectmen does with it too. So I thank you all for the public input, and we're going to commence with our meeting next. So,
Joe?
yeah, you have a
Can I
comment?
just make a quick comment?
Okay.
I just wish that some of these ideas had been floated earlier in the process, when we were starting with public comment right off the bat on the website. Because as Joe said, there's been an awful lot of deliberation and consideration and so forth and so on. And I'm sure if some of these comments, especially on the public safety issue, had come in earlier when we started, there would have been time and opportunity to really study them more thoroughly. Unfortunately, at this time, we are under a time frame, legal time frame, for making a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen and so forth and so on. So I just ask you to consider that when you understand what the final decision is here.
Let me just comment as to the process. So we had an initial public hearing back in last August, I believe it was, when we were formed. That's part of the normal course for a charter revision. We accepted input. We continued to solicit it very aggressively, I might add, input from any committees, commissions, commissioners, public, all through the end of the year via the online submissions mechanism. We collated that into a master spreadsheet. We took votes along the way for what we should consider and not consider. There was, and this is all, will be publicly, a lot of it was internal working stuff, but it'll all come out, I'm sure, in the end here. You can see what we've done. So there was, again, very careful consideration. We tried to get the input for new and other changes before the end of the calendar year, but they kept coming in, which is fine. And I believe the process lets us, we submitted a draft proposal to the Board of Selectmen via the town clerk, and now they get to take it up and say, we think you should think about a few extra things, and that's why also we have this second public hearing. After seeing what we've done, this is the last chance, right? So we will undertake these things in some fashion. We consider them or decide if we want to go a little further with them. But we do have a time crunch because we have to get this finished, I believe, by August so that it can be formulated into ballot questions and then get prepared for the ballot. And that has to happen in that time frame. So that's the sequence of events that's occurring. So we'll move it along and do what we can. We have meetings scheduled through the summer. You guys look thrilled. That's okay. But we're going to try and do our due diligence to make sure that everything's considered carefully. So. And with that, I guess I will get started with the meeting unless anybody has another comment.
Would just also clarify, I don't
Got
know,
another minute, but go ahead.
if the Board of Selectmen has the final say, so thank you for coming to this hearing. Obviously, you brought things up. You can make more comments on the Board of Selectmen considers the
Absolutely.
charter
Yeah.
later on,
Absolutely.
because they're the ones who are, we're kind of like the pre-committee in a lot of ways, so.
Will there be a public hearing for that?
Well, it'll be a regular Board of Selectmen meeting. and
You
there's
got
gonna
your
be-
3 minutes there.
No, you
know.
get 2 minutes.
2 minutes,
It used to
sorry.
be 3, now it's 2.
So, all right.
Well, it depends on how long before we vote on it, and we deliberate on it, so.
Right.
People need to come.
Yeah.
So once they see what the changes are, people need to give us their input. It's so important.
She's saying people, you mean the Board of
The
Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen.
Thank you.
But I'm saying is,
Yeah.
people need to come,
They do.
because they have to voice their opinion,
Right.
and that might make someone, their light bulb go off and say, wait a minute, and let's have a better discussion of it. But if people don't come, there's nothing more that we can do.
Yeah. I think they're going to look at the draft and then they know about this other input as well. They are well aware of it. But we'll have to see what we're going to do in our next step. So thank you. Thank everybody. Okay, everybody, anything else from the board here or the commission? No? Okay.
Good hearing.
I think he's with the press. He's with the press. He's with the press, yeah. All right, we're really getting tight here, but okay, all right. I don't say I didn't listen.
45 Britiani Road.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to I heard you mention town manager, and I am not in favor of town manager. I just wanted, I know when
Neither are
you
we,
first
apparently.
had, pardon me?
It's not going to be, it's not in there.
Okay, that's all I wanted to
Yeah.
add. I did say this at the last public hearing.
Yep, gotcha, thanks.
But I wanted,
All
just
right.
in case you said there were
Nope,
some things.
Nope,
floating around.
nope. Okay. They could kick it back and say they want a town manager, but I think that unlikely. Okay, thanks so much. I'm going to commence with our regular meeting at this point, so call to order. I'm going to do another pledge for, thank you very much. I'm going to do, okay. So I'm just do another pledge real quick. I don't know, I had it in there, sorry. So we're really dedicated here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Do we have to all sit at the same side? Can I move on the other
You
side?
can go wherever you want. I don't know if this is being streamed, is it? It is. So actually, Ann, why don't you stay? Yeah, let's stay on this side. Thanks for coming. It's okay. No, I didn't mean that in any other way. I meant it. We opened the window. We have our quorum. We actually have the full commission here tonight. So the first thing is, let's check over the minutes. I know I got some feedback. I got some feedback from, I can wait if you want. I tried that, yeah. Okay. I did try to change the thermostat. It won't let me. I'm not enough high on the pay grade for that. Oh, maybe, okay. In any case, I did get some feedback on the minutes from Kat. She said, and I think she's probably correct, that during the meeting, we wanted to change the terminology of first selectman, loser of first selectman election position, first selectman position to unsuccessful candidate. I think we changed it in the questions, the list of questions, proposed questions, ideas. I didn't know I was supposed to do it throughout the minutes, but we can certainly modify the minutes to say that.
I think the throughout the minutes is good too, because it just sounds a little bit more mature.
I agree.
'cause- Yeah.
No, it's fine. It was never meant as a judgmental thing, other than it was just, yeah. Okay. So, John, maybe you can, thank you. Okay. Any other changes to the minutes? Yes, sir. I'll see if I can pull them up.
Fifth paragraph down, Chairman Ruggiero suggested not including this in the public heading.
Okay.
Hearing. Public heading is soccer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Public hearing, probably. Okay. I'm going to try and find that, so I have the minutes here somewhere. Actually, they're on the website. Okay. So are there any other changes to the minutes as we had put them forward? They were, hang on, let's just find it anyway. All right. Okay, so with those two modifications, do I have a motion? Kat, motion to accept minutes as altered. Richard Lynch, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good, thanks. Okay, on to review of the feedback of our second public hearing and external submissions. So do we want to undertake the comments from the people here first and then the electronic part? Or they overlap, so we can decide how we want to proceed. But I didn't get any electronic submissions until Monday. I just got a letter of support for the changes that Mr. Sell had proposed, or two emails that were part of the printed packet of folks supporting tinkering with the process. One, I believe, was from Hugh Sullivan, and the other was from someone else. Let me see. Yes, we just did. Put down an abstain. This was a comment that was from Deirdre Sullivan. I thought it was, okay, so it's from Deirdre Sullivan, Purchase Brook Road. Surprised to learn that the Board of Finance is able to make funding and staffing cuts without the public notice. So this kind of goes along with, you know, the changes that Mr. Sell had proposed in support of it. That was one email I got. I didn't get a chance to forward these. These came in fairly late. Or actually, that one was Monday as well. So I try to keep up with this stuff, but sometimes it gets past me. And then we also had another from Frank Pauza of Jacob Road. I did print them out, but I don't know if there were all as many copies. I tried to print all those out. I will forward these to you folks too. But again, it's the same thing that the comment about the process of the Board of Finance okay, so I didn't forward those, but I can send them electronically too, but yeah, they're both supporting changing the process to allow a public hearing at the end of the process before the Board of Finance makes a final decision, which we actually kind of undertook at the last meeting when we wrote up some language for it. But these were two emails in support of that. And we had Fred again tonight and So and we had some comment from, I forgot her name. Ugh. We decided not to consider it at the last meeting. That doesn't mean we can't reconsider it.
But the discussion was regarding taking the first public hearing out. So we all decided.
Well, we punted on the whole thing. We
Right.
basically did not modify section 702 at all. And we were considering some changes to section 702, which I went so far as to write up as best I could. And I don't think we voted against it, we just didn't consider it. I'll check the minutes, but I believe that's what,
I'll share that. My comment was, I'd like to see a little more research into what other towns do, and if our process is in line with.
Yep.
Now I didn't do that research.
no, so,
We ran out of time as well.
we essentially ran out of time. So if we want, so,
Everything we've already done, and this was late, so we figured
Right.
let's
right.
see as we.
So, is there? Somebody's
Joe,
supposed to-
on that,
if you could- Sorry.
on Tom's comment here.
So,
I mean,
go ahead,
from
John,
what I
but turn on your
understand,
microphone. Or,
Southbury is one of very, very few towns in the state that gives the final approval of the budget to the Board of Finance. Most towns, the vast majority, like 95%, the final vote depends on the political board, okay? And in talking with John Michaels, who is the chairman of the Board of Finance, and he came to us and he said that he supported this type of change because it had the primary objective of bringing the public into the process and being much more transparent about what is happening. So to me, although we haven't considered it, I believe that this is a needed change because of the public reaction to what happened the last time. And in my 19 years on the Board of Finance, we've never had an issue like this because we've never had a year in those 19 where the Board of Finance had something substantial enough that they believed that it was imperative regarding the future of the town and to focus on a more balanced residential versus conventional, residential versus commercial ratables here. And I really think that we should listen to what Mr. Michael says. There has been no objection to that. I have not heard any. And I personally would like to see that change included in the final recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
okay. I think that, as I said, was said here, we felt like we kind of ran out of time. We were at 9:15 or 9:10 or whatever that night. If we want to consider putting in 702 language change, we can either consider doing that tonight, or we could wait and do a little research and have another meeting in 2 weeks, which also may give us some feedback from the Board of Selectmen, because I believe it's on their agenda on June 12th that they're going to accept the draft charter for review. That's what I saw. Not accept, review it, discuss it. So if that's true, maybe we can get some feedback from them as well. I don't know. Yes, sir.
Yes, all right. So as much as I don't want to add meetings to this commission's calendar, the other thing that was brought to our attention is, in my mind, not something I'll be able to do much with tonight. I didn't get the original email. I'm looking at it for the first time.
Yeah, the LPC stuff?
So I think we're going to need another meeting anyway to consider this, given the number of people who have signed on to that.
Right.
So I would be happy to reconsider a language change on 702 in a future meeting.
Sure.
At the same time, we can address this change to EMS.
Right.
What I would like to maybe do tonight is I have some questions about the proposal that was given to us. So maybe we could send those back to all the people who signed on that
So-
letter.
Absolutely.
And get more information.
I think we have a couple, there's at least 3 issues I can think of. So the first one is 702, and considering language to put in a public hearing, which we've already discussed a little bit, but we never took action on, but we went so far as to start to write some language. That's 1. 2, I heard feedback tonight that the 709 modification, which had a word which we actually consciously changed from consent to consider, we may want to change back to consent of the Board of Finance to make sure that any finance alternative ordinance has buy-in from both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. So that was how it was originally written, but we changed it at the last meeting. We may want to
Yeah.
reconsider that. Okay, hang on, I got comments here. And then the last thing is this whole new paradigm of what looks to me to be a revised LEPC
Yeah.
entity with no public participation, not public participation, residents as part of it. It's all municipal employees. I don't know how that affects, we added the MS section, we didn't touch the LEPC section, right? But we may want to consider, that's the biggest, broadest change in the least amount of time, right? But we may want to do some research to understand if a public safety commission should have some of the public on it.
Yeah. If I could just finish this thought, Joe,
Okay,
before
and then I'm sorry, I'm just
Yeah.
addressing it, but then I'll get you guys next time.
So the other thing I was going to say is if the board, if this commission does decide to have another meeting to take up 702 and 508, I guess it was, for that change
That was
to
for the,
EMS.
that was adding EMS.
Yeah, and
I'm
508.
not sure that goes away, but we can
Yeah.
see.
So if we're having another meeting anyway, one thing
think
I'd
we
like
have
to
to.
do tonight then
Yeah.
is perhaps do a motion to reconsider 709, because I think if we're going to make any change to 702,
It should go along
we
with it.
should open back up 709 and address that at the same time.
Hold that thought. Let me just hear what these folks
Okay.
have to say. Yeah.
So my first question is, we've submitted things to the selectman's office to have presented at the next selectman meeting to be voted on. Is there any chance we can redact that and tell them we're having another meeting? This just came up, which is unfair for us to jam it all in and then go back? We
My-
can't do that?
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
We should be able to.
Can we? We certainly can. Do we have time to? No. If I may, we're already late. And again, we stopped taking submissions December 31st. What should happen now if this commission wants to entertain things that are still coming forward? It would be my recommendation to submit to the Board of Selectmen the things we've already agreed to. There is now a dialogue process between them and us. I would think concurrently to the Board of Selectmen's role, at the meeting on the 12th, a conversation could be had simply saying, these couple things came forward, but I don't think we have time to have a meeting before the 12th to pull our submission back, to give them a new submission. I think we have to go with the charter we spent a year on and give it to the Board of Selectmen and then work through the process then. To the specific things, this committee that has come forward today, the Board of Selectmen can create it if they want or they don't. We don't have to touch it at all.
So you're right, you're right.
I have another portion of my question when you're done.
Sure. The second thing about consent, which was 709, I think, we actively took a vote unanimously to remove it. I understand, at some point, we just have to stick by our decisions. We make a decision, someone else in the world says, hey, I have a different idea, and we scramble to change it. I don't think we have to do that. We can let it play out through the next process. If the Board of Selectmen wants to change things, that's what their purview is. At some point, we just need to draw a line in the sand and say, listen, the calendar is leaving us. This is what we believe is the best document we're giving you. Like it, don't, make changes, don't, it's your job now. I don't think it's incumbent upon us to rehash everything every time something comes up.
Well, that, go ahead, Ann, please.
Okay, so, I have a suggestion. Of course, we can have another meeting to discuss things that us, as a group, we need to discuss, if we think it's that important. We've been in this for 8 months. If it's important, then we should have another meeting. My other thought is with the new Public Safety Committee, it's changing from LEPAC to Public Safety Committee. It's a simple thing that we've talked about a million times in our discussions. LEPAC, Public Safety, 8 members, 3 alternates. We don't have to take EMS Committee out.
Okay.
We just change the name and submit that. All these
Yeah.
documents that are here are being done by the committees anyways, and
So-
being decided on. The
I-
details.
Okay, it's the details. They're asking us to put the details in the
But it's a
charter.
charter, and it's every 5 years.
I
So then
understand.
what you would do is change the name from LEPAC to Public Safety,
Okay.
and keep EMS Committee, and see how it rolls.
That's certainly.
Very easy.
Yeah, okay. Let me just back up a second. We submitted a draft to the Board of Selectmen for them to start to consider, but we also had a second public hearing to get input on this and to decide if we want to make last-minute modifications. So I'm not sure I'm in complete agreement with Jason on the process. I think that we can wait for some input from the Board of Selectmen on the draft and do everything at once, perhaps. I do think the time crunch is on us. I do believe that. That doesn't mean we can't do some research toward whatever some of these questions. And I didn't mention the last one, which is Jeff Manville's suggestion of lowering the bar for firing people. I'm not sure about that one. I'd love to hear what the Board of Selectmen says on that one. But, and I think Mr. Lynch has a question. You can use the microphone.
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of scratching my head a little bit that we hear things at the last second. That's very frustrating.
I share your
If it
frustration.
should've been- If it's been bothering them for 10 years, why did it take 10 months?
I don't know.
That's number one. Number two, the undated document that we received with all those people's signature on it,
Yeah.
that's concerning too. They're trying to do an end run around, if the Board of Selectmen wants to create this committee.
No
they
Board of
can do it.
Selectmen, don't say Board of Selectmen.
But 510 says the Board
Selectmen.
of Selectmen can.
So,
Creation and discontinuance of board, commissions, 510 gives the power.
This
It
was
should
not
decide.
created by the Board of
But
Selectmen.
it has to be approved by the
It has to
board.
be approved, but it
It is
wasn't
not a charter
created
issue.
by the Board of Selectmen. It's 2 different things. It was created by the First Selectman and the Emergency Planning Director. Those 2 got this together. No one else knew about it.
Got which together?
Got
Yeah.
this public safety
Submission.
together.
When-
hang on, so let me see where Joan
And there
had.
were a lot of good
hang on
comments
to
tonight
Rich.
about
Yes.
kicking this back and rethinking
I-
what's the
I,
purpose of
I
this.
don't think it's malicious, but
No, I don't think it's
I think what it
malicious
is
at all.
they're saying, oh, maybe we can get this into the charter at the last minute. I
No,
think
I
that's,
don't think that.
Like,
I
that's what they
disagree.
told me.
I think
No,
that
that's
this
what they
was
said.
for the public hearing.
No, it was to get it in the charter.
Oh, it
yeah,
was?
yeah.
Well, but it's
What
for
I
the
hear.
public hearing, all right.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing that confuses me. We have a second public hearing
Right,
to get input
Yes.
on presumably the draft.
that's correct. We
And
do.
we're gonna ignore it?
No,
because it's the last minute?
that's why I guess I disagree with J.C. saying we're done. We can still change, we submitted a draft, I believe we can still submit a change
We
based
have to
upon the last.
consider it.
Yes, we have to consider it.
Joe,
You're right, we have to-
Hang on,
we have
one
to
at a time.
consider it.
Okay, so let me let Mike
In
go.
an
and then
I
I'll
was
get
just
you.
gonna answer it because she had
Oh,
directed
you
the
want,
question.
okay, then go ahead.
So, and I apologize, I was at a school meeting for the feasibility study, so I was a couple minutes late, so I missed our public hearing. So the purpose today was, I believe, to get comment on our draft.
On our draft.
Charter.
That's correct.
So this brand-new committee is not a comment on our draft charter.
Nope.
It's a brand-new proposition.
Nope.
If someone spoke about consent, yeah, I think
They
that's,
said,
that's fair to talk about tonight.
And
But-
702, maybe. Maybe it isn't because we left that out. Yeah.
So, that's fine. I think the public hearing is exactly that. We published what we've done. The public gets to come and say, hey, what you've done is right, wrong, or indifferent. tonight is not the night to start floating new ideas to us.
I'll buy that.
Because, again, this public hearing really should have happened 3 weeks ago. So we are behind. We can deal with all these things if they're good ideas without reinventing the wheel. I believe the Board of Selectmen can create this committee should they choose to tomorrow.
Yes.
We don't gotta weigh in at all. So if this is the best idea since sliced bread, and I haven't read through it yet, so I don't know, it can happen.
We can also respond to the Board of Selectmen saying, reconsider these things, because they get input too.
Certainly.
And so I think, but the research can be done, right? Research can be done, and we can say we would like to have another meeting, maybe post a Board of Selectmen meeting. I know they have one on June 12th. So we could potentially wait until, what ours would be, June 18th, sorry, losing my marbles here.
17. No.
14 plus 4, 18, right? 2 weeks.
The only thing, if I could, Joe,
Yeah.
just for the calendar purposes.
Yep.
The Board of Selectmen only meets once a month
I understand.
in July and
But they're
August.
meeting on June 12th.
Right, so if they meet on June 12th,
Sorry, early.
if they meet on June 12th and give us recommendations, it's now a month until we're back at them. And
No, well, so if they have a meeting on June 12th, which is a Thursday, we have a meeting on June 18th, which is less than a week later. If we do some preparation and research and maybe find some information, and if they say don't do anything, we don't do anything.
Okay,
If-
I just wanted to give you the calendar.
No,
that
I get
We
it.
don't meet
We-
every other week anymore on the.
No,
Board of
no, and I know that, and I think we have one more crack at this, is essentially what we have, and that's it. Go
So,
ahead.
if I may, Ann had asked, can we pull this back?
I don't-
And then Jason said, no, this is the beginning of the dialogue. And I think he's right. I think
He's
It's the
right.
beginning of the
It's a
dialogue.
dialogue,
I don't see why we can't, make both of these things work. I absolutely think the Board of Selectmen can consider everything we've done so far on June 12th, and we can meet on the 18th if.
Okay, and do
if
some
we-
research in
Yeah.
advance of the 18th.
But I do want to make a point. I know I share Richard's comments a little bit. Some of these things, the public comments about budget process, I respect that. When it's coming from the government, though, I will take a little umbrage there because we gave all town boards and commissions an
I
opportunity
agree.
to make their points. And if anybody had issues with our charter, of all people, the first selectman comes here tonight saying, "Oh, let's
I
do
don't.
this, this, and this." I do find that insulting to our work.
Okay, I wouldn't use that word myself. I'm frustrated. I would say frustrated, but trying to be accommodating is the words I would use. And to the best of our ability within the timeframe. Well,
I don't think there was any exigent circumstance that prompted
No.
this.
no. Tom?
Yeah, I'll just play devil's advocate quickly because I agree in principle with what a lot of Jason has said. Like, this needs to end. It needs to move on. However, the two big issues we're talking about, I think, are in response to recent events. The reconsideration of 702 is in
Right.
response to this year's budget cycle.
Yes.
If it was last year
Not
and we
a
had a
word.
year to
Not a
talk about
word.
it,
Not a word.
but, right. So this is in response to something that happened 2 months ago. And I am sensitive to the idea of, like, if you want this in the charter, this is your next chance, and then wait 5 or 6 years.
Hang on, or 709.
Well, right,
Okay.
right. Which, so the second thing I'd say is, again, all new to me. I haven't had a chance to read through it, but I wonder if this proposal for public safety is a response to a paragraph memorializing the EMS commission that.
No, it was, so I.
Well, they're asking to replace it. I mean,
The way that it was described to me, and I had a phone conversation with Steve Schnell, who wrote this proposal, okay? They're asking to end both LEPC and EMS and replace it with another entity.
Right.
Which is basically LEP. That's, I think, what I'm kind of confused about.
Well, that's what I said before.
They're just renaming
Okay.
LEPC. They're just gutting
What
the
I
EMS.
said
Yeah, yes and no. So I personally wouldn't, well, I'm a little concerned that any proposed commission that they're putting together doesn't have public representation on it. And EMS did that, right? And LEPC didn't. And now you're,
To me, LEPC was for professionals. That makes a lot of sense. Get the people in. That's not for the public to necessarily weigh in
we
on.
can-
These are.
but again, this
It
is
makes
part-
absolute
it's part of the
sense.
research, and it's all a blind side.
I
you know,
think
and-
that this public safety, everyone should wait till we
Okay.
have our Board of Selectmen meeting, because there's gonna be a presentation.
Yeah, I
There's
know,
gonna
it's
be
part-
a
it's
lot
in
of
here.
questions
It's in
asked.
here, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Research, yes.
Yeah, the research is gonna be there, and we can always change the name if we have to.
And maybe the
We've-
representation. Right.
You know, with so many
Sure.
members and so many
Absolutely.
alternates, it could be very simple.
No, it's fine.
We don't wanna put in details, we're not putting bylaws and declarations and anything like that in there.
I think we still have another crack, but it's our last shot, right? If we have another meeting on the 18th to respond to the group, to the comments that we received, whatever we do is our last step. I agree also that it shouldn't be something so new to us. Changing a word like in 709, or we've considered some of the 702 language, which, we never really, I think, took a vote on. We just didn't consider it, right? So we might take a vote on it. The non sequitur of the 5 versus 4 vote, I think is too new for me. I don't know, unless the Board of Selectmen says, consider this. They could certainly do that. At the next meeting, they could say,
Are we having a next meeting? No, he meant the board.
so the Board of Selectmen meets on June 12th.
No, are we having another meeting?
I think we are, and June 18th at this point. That's my feeling,
I think we have to consider.
the changes. Yeah, okay.
Particularly with the Board of Finance aspect, I think,
Yes.
which is
So
fair
we-
game based on our work. I think those comments were absolutely fair game for tonight, and
Sure.
those were not new
We
items.
might
That's
have other things to review.
That's
my
point, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so if the Board of Selectmen says on the 12th, we have to be very nimble, and we have to think, okay, well, we got all this public hearing comment, and we maybe got some stuff from them, and we have to take our final whack.
it's ultimately kind of gone down to the Board of Selectmen anyway.
Oh,
so
sure.
That's part of what I meant when I said I think it's insulting to our work. It's like, these are my 11th hour changes, these are what I want, and
Well,
I'll get them through or I won't.
well,
And-
I wouldn't prescribe intent behind this, other than the timing of this LEPC versus Public Safety Commission rework, I think was happening anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it was malicious, I don't
No.
think it was intended to be something that,
So you know about it?
no, only Monday, but I called I knew Monday, and I called Steve, I said, what are you talking
I don't know
about?
about this. So
That's
this
all,
is the
that's all I
11th
heard,
hour
that's
part,
as
right?
much as I heard. So, anyway, I'm just trying to be candid with the dialogue that I've had, right? And that's it. And it wasn't an email, it was a phone call.
Joe?
Let me go back to Kat and work my way back, yeah.
One thing I just wanted to say about this proposed change for public safety
Yep.
is that I think sometimes when they're talking about incident planning, some of it can be at the law enforcement sensitive area, and I think that's why they didn't want to have that particular forum open to the public, because sometimes when you're planning things, it's not stuff that should necessarily be open to the public, because it's stuff that's gonna be proprietary.
Fair enough. John, I'm gonna work
Yeah,
my way down
ju-
the low
just
row here.
one observation from an old fart, that if we don't pay attention and have another meeting to consider what was said tonight, okay, it comes across as arrogance. We worked a lot, and I will admit, we spent a lot of time. But every one of us know that we did not get all of the public input that is now coming forward at this time. And to just go forward and say, while there were additional issues that were raised tonight that have significant substance going forward, to just say that this commission is going to punt to the Board of Selectmen without putting in another meeting to consider what was said here, to me, that comes across as arrogance. And I think as a responsibility, we really should have that meeting, get some more information, and we have time, and then go to the Board of Selectmen and just say, listen, we listened to what the public said at this final meeting, and it raised significant concerns, and we want to look at those.
Okay. I wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to say their piece down the road here. Joan, did you same thing?
I'd
or-
like to make a motion
Okay,
that we have a meeting on the 18th what we heard tonight, regardless of the intent, I think that's really not important.
Okay.
To consider what we heard and make decisions.
Motion to amend the motion? I'm out of town on the 18th, can we make it the 25th?
Oh, for God's sakes, no, I'm gonna be away.
This is why we have deadlines.
I,
Can we do something other than a Wednesday?
I am out of work, I'm out of town on business, 18, 19, 20. I could do Tuesday.
some other time, about when we can meet? Good idea.
I could try to solicit dates that people can do this. We did have a, hang on, we did have a regularly scheduled meeting for the 18th, just so you know. But yeah, it's on the website. I mean, I'm not making this up, but so I don't mean to, but let me do this. I will go so far as to try to gather as much information as I can. I will also extend to the Board of Selectmen, I'll ask if they want me to show. If you guys want to come too, we can go there to have the dialogue, okay, and gather any information and additional information that maybe we can consider. And I'll get it all into a more confined agenda that really addresses the items that were brought up tonight. This other safety commission is certainly on the fringe, and I would like to hear what the Board of Selectmen thinks. And then I think that the 5 versus 4 voting for dismissal is probably a non sequitur. That's my opinion. I don't know. But again, the Board of Selectmen can hopefully give us some feedback at their 12th meeting, and then we can take some final action and keep to this tight time frame we're in. We got to finish, like Jason said.
My
So we had a
suggestion
motion
to our commission is that everyone come, if you can, or watch the meeting on the 12th, because I know Steve Schnell will be here giving a presentation. There'll be a lot of dialogue. The Board of Selectmen meeting this way. For our next meeting, everyone will be prepared for the other questions that they do have.
All right, so your motion was, let me get this motion straight, because we had it on the floor.
Another meeting of our commission
Okay,
to consider what we heard
okay.
in the public.
And I heard you gave it a second. You kind of had an amendment. I don't know that I can, what to do about the amendment, but I think we should take a vote. I think we are scheduled on the website.
I don't know if I'm on vacation as an amendment.
No, it's a fair comment
My amendment was changed.
to change the date. I don't think, the date was out there, it's posted. I had them all posted at the beginning of the year, so I'm going to stick with that, I think. So can I get a vote on Joan's motion and Ann's second?
Aye.
Aye? Do I hear ayes?
What was that for?
That was
The
to
vote, the
to
motion
vote.
you seconded.
Okay. I apologize.
We just approved the minutes, Ann.
Okay.
Thanks, I
No,
was
you-
worried about that.
All right, so I'm not planning to do more tonight because I think it's just requires some research, but I will put out all sorts of information for you folks. I promise to do as much as I can. If you can attend the Board of Selectmen meeting on the 12th, maybe we can get some more feedback there as well. And we got to keep to a very tight schedule and try to finish, yeah. Yes. 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 Hang on, so please stop with the crosstalk for a sec. Ann, hang on. Order. So let's, are there any other questions? We're going to have Tom has a question, and we'll, if there, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go back to something I said earlier. I would like to consider a motion to either pull back or reconsider 709, because I don't want to send that to the Board of Selectmen if we want to change wording or change meeting.
We did, I had to send it to the Board of Selectmen in advance of the public hearing. A draft was given to them to look at. That's the process. Doesn't mean we can't, it's not, we're pulling it back. We get another, we can modify based upon the last public hearing.
We can do a motion for our chair, Joe Ruggiero, to communicate that they not consider section 709, given that we just agreed that we're going to meet again.
Okay.
I might give that responsibility to the vice chair.
Oh, vice chair.
Nice guy.
Will he be on vacation now?
No,
Will he be late?
so,
For the record, I was late tonight because I was at a different town meeting. And next week, or the 18th, I'm at work. I'm not on vacation. I don't necessarily understand Commissioner Mark's request.
There was some discussion tonight about changing a word.
Yep.
But also, if we're changing 702, if that's going to happen, you know, I don't know how comfortable I feel about moving forward with 709, saying, well, you can undo all of this with an ordinance. Like, the reason we're considering 702 is because people wanted something codified.
It was-
If we're
no.
responding to that feedback.
If you recall, the reason we did both was because 709 would likely be its own question, and if it fails, you still have modified 702 to adjust the process. So that's why both.
And aren't we considering that on the 18th? Haven't we?
I thought we had settled 709 and that we had not undertaken 702. So 702 should be looked at as an insurance policy because it probably would be considered as an omnibus question change, I'm guessing.
Maybe we take a second look.
We can take a second look at the 18th, yes,
But
absolutely.
can't you redact it?
So
That one-
we could do whatever we want, but here's
That's
what's
right.
going to happen. The Board of Selectmen's not ever going to consider it. If we pull it back and don't let the Board of Selectmen begin to at least consider
We're
it,
not pulling it back, yeah.
well, the request was to pull it back.
Can't.
So,
It's already submitted. So we voted to,
But we had a public hearing.
Hang on a
and
minute.
Things changed.
No, but
We
we,
can redact it.
the process,
Have to, we can
Put another-
in
another change,
version and
yes.
say, hey, Board of Selectmen, we got a lot of input,
what my suggestion would be,
right?
what my
Yes.
suggestion would be, and no one has to do this, leave what we sent
Sweet.
at the meeting on the 12th, come
Yep.
and say, hey, the esteemed Charter Revision Commission, after hearing from the public, would like you to consider X, Y, and Z. That would be my recommendation.
And that would be great, but we're not meeting before that.
No, at the Board of Selectmen meeting.
Yeah, I know.
We-
Charter revision, Joe
we,
says.
we can share with the Board of Selectmen that we received the following input at the public hearing. Okay? And I think we still get another chance. No, and I don't think it's beholden on us just to, we submitted a draft to the Board of Selectmen, not final. Then we do the public hearing, we try to get some of their input, then we submit a final copy. It's two whacks.
I think that's in the.
That's in the procedure. So it's not like we're done, unless tonight we say we're gonna ignore all input and say we're done. And so it's perfect to wait, and we'll do it on the 18th, and we'll go to the meeting, I think we should all go. If the Board of Selectmen cares to have us comment beyond 2 minutes, fine, whatever they wanna do. If they wanna, if they want to ask questions of us, I think we should be open to that, and then go from there. And but we really should finish on the 18th, because like Jason said, this has to finish, has to go to the lawyer, the process has to play out the rest of the summer, it has to get formulated into ballot questions. And so, the dialogue should occur at that meeting if it can happen, so. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, so do we have to vote on our final recommendation then?
We voted on our draft.
Right, I know, but at the
Yeah.
18th, whatever
Yeah.
we submit as our final
Yeah, we were
recommendation
either
is subject to
gonna do
another
it
vote.
tonight by saying
Okay.
we're done.
Gotcha,
Which
okay.
which we're not done.
Then that's the
Or
part I
we,
didn't realize.
we wait till the next meeting, and hopefully, that meeting we're done.
Gotcha, okay.
Maybe we're
that's
not.
helpful,
I
thank you.
hope we are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing I was going to add, Joe, and you may have already,
Yeah.
in addition to filing our draft charter with the board, if you haven't, I would advise you to ask to present to the Board of Selectmen, so you're not beholden to 2
Okay.
minutes.
Okay.
Then you
Get
can.
on their agenda officially.
Yes.
Okay. I know there is menu item, an item on their agenda to accept the draft. Consider the draft.
But for a presentation, you should.
If they want it to be a presentation, I'll check into that. I will do that if everybody's comfortable with that.
The perfect person to do.
Okay, and I'll get with them tomorrow and see if we can't get some of their time. I don't know how busy they are that meeting, but we'll see.
Oh, busy.
Oh, busy. Aren't you on a summer schedule?
No.
No?
If you're connecting a month's worth of
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
no.
so unless we have other business to do tonight,
Motion to adjourn.
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A second from Ann.
No, I can count on you.
All in,
That's why we're just gonna do it.
oh, Tom?
didn't allow you guys to
You don't
skip
wanna,
this
you
whole
okay with
time.
that?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, thank you very much,
You guys
everybody.
keep things, that's what
Yeah, it's a memento for you, yes, sure. We need them for one more meeting, so,
I'll bring it with
all
me.
right.
Don't, as long